As much as I might want to see that swine dead...
Pardon me, Count.
Then please.
Did you notice the grease? See it just at the beginning of your wife's...
These things happen.
Have you remembered anything about last night that might help us?
Nothing.
Good day, Monsieur Lecomte. I have nothing... I have a few more questions, Frau Schmidt, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
How long have you been with Madame la Princesse?
10 years.
15 years, Schmidt.
Yeah, that is right. 15, mademoiselle. I am sorry. This murder, this waiting, it distracts me.
I understand you are an excellent cook.
Yeah, indeed. All of my ladies have said so. Your Excellency.
Calm yourself, Schmidt. You don't know what you are saying.
That is true. I do not know what I am saying.
That will do for now, Mademoiselle Schmidt.
When will that plow free us?
I have returned to you, Your Highness.
I thought you might.
I'm having some difficulty locating the owner of this handkerchief.
I am sorry to hear that. If you had asked me, I could have told you it is mine.
Yours? But, Your Highness, your first name is Natalia.
I'm perfectly aware of my first name, mademoiselle. My handkerchiefs are always embroidered with Russian characters. In the Cyrillic alphabet, H is written as A.
How did your handkerchief come to be lying by the murdered man's body?
I have no idea.
Your maid said she did not recognize this handkerchief.
Schmidt believes in loyalty as I do. I believe in loyalty to one's friends and one's family and one's class.
Thank you for your time, Princess.
When you're in the...
Ah, dear young miss, I would like to say that despite all the calamity, I have enjoyed sharing my compartment.
Thank you, Greta, but I'm afraid I must ask you some more questions.
Yeah, I am thinking you must. Our gracious Father, who art in heaven, guides your hand, I think. So, I am content.
I found a postcard in your suitcase.
My one keepsake from that time. It is a silly thing, but I hold it dear.
Coney Island is in America.
Yeah, of course. It is on the Long Island of New York, in the country of America. I lied to you when I said I had never been there. May God forgive me.
On the back of the postcard, you write that Helena rode on the roller coaster.
Helena Gilbert, Mrs. Armstrong's young sister, only 10 years of age, but so brave. I am not so brave. It is true. It is true. She was an angel, a sweet, trusting angel. She knew nothing but kindness and love, and she was took away by that wicked, wicked man. And her poor mother, and the other little one who never lived at all. I was to be that little child's nurse, too. I ought to have told you, but I was afraid. I did so rejoice that that evil man was dead, that he could not any more kill the little children. All the talk wears me out so.
I must attend to my duty.
Thanks to our master chef's perseverance, the Wiener Schnitzel and...
This seems to be a security door. That key doesn't work here.
All the time.
When will that plow...
Mademoiselle,
The time for time.
I know my...
Really, miss?
I don't think she's in the mood.
I don't envy you, you're...
I'm not in the mood.
You have been lucky, Sen. This is all nonsense.
You've got 10 times...
Monsieur Poirot. And that is everything I...
We progress, mademoiselle.
This book of Masterman's reveals more than he knows.
Love's Captive by the inestimable Mrs. Arabella Richardson, yes. And what does it reveal to you?
Beneath that very prop.
Perhaps. But I fear that this revelation would only be...
This driving license indicates Foscarelli has been a chauffeur.
A not unnatural profession for a man who loves the motor cars.
The postcard I found in Greta Olsen's suitcase tells a story.
This card, it speaks to Poirot in many ways. Coney Island is, I think, on the Long Island of New York in America. A country she claims not to have visited. Mademoiselle Olsen does not send the postcard to Sweden as she perhaps intended, but saves it as a keepsake for herself. It is not a happy memory, this. A last brief moment in the sun for a family soon to be swept away by the storm.
The scarlet kimono turns up in my luggage. I swear to you it does not belong to me.
Oh, mademoiselle, I have no doubt of that. You have vigorously pursued its owner's identity. No. It is a defiance, you understand? It is a gauntlet thrown down. Very well. We take it up.
The handkerchief with the H belongs to the princess.
I confess I should have remembered that in the Cyrillic alphabet, Arch is written as N. And she has a strong motive to want Ratchet dead. But are we meant to believe that this elderly woman prances about in the scarlet silk kimono? Or could strike with such ferocity?
Foscarelli was the Armstrong chauffeur.
It was a deduction most simple.
Masterman was Colonel Armstrong's valet.
And his Batman during the war.
Greta Olson was Daisy Armstrong's nurse.
This may explain the zeal with which she cares for her young charges at her mission, and why she never had any children of her own.
Mary Debenham's handkerchief does not match the one found next door.
No, despite the middle name of Hermione beginning with an H, I did not think that the expensive handkerchief would belong to her. No, the handkerchief of Mademoiselle Debenham is precisely the type one might expect to find in the luggage of a young Englishwoman of her class.
The Armstrong nurse was named New Daughter.
An odd name, that. What nationality do you think?
Slavic or Scandinavian?
Well, perhaps. I think that the Countess has the most fanciful mind and is quite adept at the word games. She is playing them now. Noi Daughter sounds, I think, only by coincidence, vaguely Scandinavian. Olsen is, of course, authentic Scandinavian.
New Daughter. New Daughter. Olsen. Old Son.
It is not yet fact, but it is worth pursuing.
Helena Gilbert's governess was an old hag named Freebody.
What an unfortunate name for an old hag is Freebody. It is more apt a name for the generation of flippers.
Flappers. The fast young women were called flappers in America. Thank goodness skirts are finally lengthening again.
As you say. I wonder if during your time at university in England you had occasion to patronize the clothing shops for the fashionable woman in London.
No, Monsieur Poirot, not on a student's budget.
There is such a shop near my own tailor called Debenham and Freebody, and the description the Countess gives to you is as far from the attractive young woman Mary Debenham as one could hope to get.
The Countess recognized no one on the train.
Including Madame la Princesse, her sister's godmother? Monsieur McQueen she may also have seen, but he has grown much, of course, and the appearance changes. But a woman of the advanced years of the princess does not change so much, I think. No, I find this lack of recognition the most damning point against the Countess in all of her evasions and lies. So you see now why the Countess's failure to recognize anyone grows beyond suspicious.
Perhaps she is nearsighted. If she were the second murderer in Ratchet's room last night, that might explain why she didn't notice he was already dead.
You know, at times you remind me so of my good friend Hastings.
The nursemaid Suzanne, who threw herself to her death, was French.
Wait, to know her full name might be instructive.
Hildegard Schmidt's recipe box is suggestive.
You remember at dinner how she was most opinionated with the waiter while studying the menu? And the label on the box, it is interesting as well. My lady's recipes. Now that suggests that she is accustomed to cooking for her employers. Not a duty one attaches to the lady's maid, n'est-ce pas?
Can we use the ham radio to help the investigation?
Oh, but certainement. This is a marvelous stroke of luck. Too often the coincidences, they help the criminal. What a refreshing change to have one that will aid Poirot. I have the friend, Monsieur Louis. His son Barnabas is a boy of much energy and interests. One of these is the radio of Ham, as his proud father reports in a recent correspondence. Young Barnaby can be our eyes and ears in the outside world. His letters to call are there in my valise in the letter from his father. Use the radio of... Do not forget to secure his letters, or you will not have the information needed to reach young Barnaby.
Schmidt is accustomed to cooking for her employers, as we suspected.
And her mistake in how long she has been in the employ of the princess is remarkable. A difference 1/3 less than her mistress claims. 10 years. We must look deeper into this. What course do you suggest?
I will ask the Countess the name of the Armstrong cook.
The Countess has lied to us most shamelessly already, I'm afraid, mademoiselle. No, I think young Barnaby could better serve us here. Merci, mademoiselle. Unfortunately, the report, it is not yet complete. We are now armed with much more additional knowledge than before. Continue the investigation and do not be afraid to go over the ground you have already covered.
The letter. Now I'd better put Monsieur Poirot's... A makeshift telegraph key. That isn't such a good idea. I won't do that. I suppose that will do as a telegraph key. There, the radio is ready to be used. That will save the cell from... There, the radio is ready to be used.
Superb, mademoiselle. You do not need to learn the Morse code if you have the book as reference.
That will save the cell from draining. There's no There, the radio's... That will save the cell from draining while I'm not using it. There, the radio is ready to be... That will save the cell from drain.
You're the one bright spot.
You'll not get another word. I will not.
You should take care.
Come back later, Miss Mar...
Whoever did it.
Mademoiselle Debenham, I must ask you why you lied to me earlier.
Lied to you? I don't know what you mean.
You told me you had never been in America.
What makes you think I have?
Information received, as the English police say. You concealed the fact that you lived in the Armstrong household.
And what, may I ask, was I supposed to have been doing there?
You were governess to Helena Gilbert, Mrs. Armstrong's young sister, and you would have no doubt been governess to little Daisy when she was old enough.
You appear to have found me out.
And the reason for these evasions?
I have my living to get. You must know how hard it is for a girl to get and keep decent employment. I had been detained and questioned in connection with a murder case. Do you think that any nice, ordinary, middle-class Englishwoman would want to engage a girl with those references as governess to her daughters?
Even if no blame attached to you, there would be the publicity.
Yes, we have it hard enough getting on, don't we? Without all of that additional baggage.
I understand very well.
I thought you would know what it is like.
I am the hardest working employee in the office, yet I remain at the lowest wages. And I've worried more than once how my employer, Monsieur Booth, will react when he learns of the avalanche, Monsieur Poirot's accident, the murder. I'm not to blame, but
somehow you will be blamed. It's not fair. It's just the way things are.
Not now, when it's all over, when it's behind us.
Antoinette, those words refer to a private matter of my own. I can't tell you. I can't.
You could have helped the investigation.
How?
Is it possible, Mademoiselle Debenham?
Call me Mary, please.
Mary, is it possible you did not recognize Countess Andrenyi?
Recognize her? From the society pages, you mean?
She is Helena Gilbert, the young sister whom you taught in New York.
Helena. It is true she reminded me of someone. It puzzled me. She looks so different now. So elegant. How could I connect her with a little American schoolgirl? I admit I looked more closely at her clothes than her face, and I had my own preoccupations.
Thank you, Mademoiselle Debenham. Dr. Constantine?
I thought you had forgotten about me. You have further need of my expert advice?
I'd like to talk to you about that, yes.
Good.
Could you give me an account of your movements last night?
My movements? Surely, I am not a suspect. But it is absurd. I joined the train at Belgrade. I am the sole paying passenger of the Athens-Paris coach. Surrounded by the working staff. The doors are locked between my coach and the coach to Calais. So, I could not have committed the murder.
What is the name of the conference you are addressing in London?
Why, it is the International Society of Gastrointestinal Physicians.
Why would such a group be interested in a speech about a disease found in newborn calves?
Why, there are many similarities between... What I mean is anatomy. Constantine, what have you done?
You lied to us about your qualifications, Doctor. You are a veterinarian, yes?
Yes, a very good veterinarian.
Monsieur Poirot and I relied on your qualified opinions.
Mademoiselle Marceau.
All the inconsistencies, the time of death, the difference in the force of the stab wounds. The murderer is strong, but no, look here, the murderer is weak. He is right-handed. No, he is left-handed.
Have you considered he may have held a knife in each hand?
Doctor, enough. All of it can be explained away with the simple fact that you did not know what you were doing.
Mademoiselle, all of my training was to become a medical doctor, to treat human disease and to save human lives. Then, I come from a poor family. I had not the money to finish my studies. The best I could accomplish was doctor of animals. When Monsieur Poirot was told there was doctor on the train, I saw an opportunity to prove myself. Not to you, you understand. To me.
But your evidence...
I swear to you, every observation I made, every conclusion I reached will be verified by any doctor who examines the body. Further, by my acting while the murder was as yet not too long in the past, I may very well have seen more than any doctor coming to the case days or even hours later. I did lie about my degree. I did not lie about my ability. You may rely on everything I have told to you. Yes, even with all the inconsistencies, you have the correct medical evidence before you. My speech may actually... Really, miss, you know...
I'm sorry, Your name is Helena, isn't it? Not Elena. You are Helena Maria Gilbert, are you not? Sonia Armstrong's sister, Linda Arden's daughter?
I demand, mademoiselle, to know what right you...
No, Rudolph. It is useless to deny what Mademoiselle Marceau says. It is quite true, mademoiselle. I am Helena Gilbert, the youngest sister of Sonia Armstrong.
That will do for now, Count Andrigny. The time for talk.
Now that you know...
When will that plow free us?
When your investigation is complete,
All the talk...
Excuse me, please, madam.
Ah, you're a
And that is everything I have discovered.
We progress.
Countess Adrenyi's maiden name is Gilbert.
Not a very Hungarian name, that.
Her accent is more American than Hungarian. Countess Andrenyi is Helena Gilbert, Sonia Armstrong's sister.
Ah, oui. It is easy to see why her devoted husband would try to hide that fact. Her account of the Armstrong household is of the greatest interest. Please to go over the points of her testimony that struck you.
Dr. Constantine is a veterinarian.
The only man on the train who answers the description of Ratchet's unknown enemy, and that is his only secret? Bah!
The nursemaid's full name was Suzanne Ferrier.
French. Yet no apparent connection to any of the others involved in that case. Ah, well. Not every clue will lead somewhere.
Cyrus Hardman has worked for McNeil's for almost 15 years.
I wonder.
Barnaby confirms Colonel Arbuthnot served with Colonel Armstrong.
We, the Royal Northumberland Fusiliers, a regiment most distinguished.
Barnaby has discovered that the last name of the Armstrong cook was Schmidt.
All of her ladies have said that she was a wonderful cook.
Pierre Michel has no family.
Never married, parents dead, his sister, her husband, and a niece dead in the car crash. Oh, this is enough to explain the sadness that haunts him, and yet he carries the happy family photograph with him, a wife and a child.
The father of Linda Arden's children was named Gilbert.
No marriage, just children. The smart set is often not so smart, I think.
I have all the pieces. All that remains is for me to assemble them properly.
Très bien, mademoiselle. You have done well. Mademoiselle Marceau, you will recall my observation to you of the many classes and nationalities one meets when traveling.
Yes, of course.
Try to imagine whether such an assembly would ever likely to be collected under any other conditions.
In America?
Oui, the great melting pan of America.
Melting pot.
This is the answer I made to myself as well. Only in America you might find a household composed of such varied nationalities. And what do we discover here? Such a household has recreated itself aboard this train. A household damaged almost beyond recovery 10 years ago by the man Ratchet. And so we near the end of at least one journey. Please to assemble our fellow passengers in the salon car. Oh, and please also to send for Michel and Dr. Constantine. I will need their assistance to convey me to the salon car.
You will present your solution?
I will offer 3 solutions. You, mademoiselle, will decide which of them will best serve justice. Eh bien, messieurs, we have before us a most delicate operation. Transferring the person of Poirot to the salon car, where the suspects, they are all assembled. Poirot is ready for the ordeal. Marche! Mon Dieu, take care!
Beware of Greeks bearing gifts.
Mesdames et messieurs, there are 3 possible solutions of this case. There is the solution concocted for the benefit of the Yugoslavian police, who were expected to take up the investigation. A little play that was then embellished with several improvisations. When I, Hercule Poirot, unexpectedly appeared on the stage. And then there is a solution that reveals the most careful plotting of a truly brilliant mastermind. And yet there is also a third, one of which I think even now, that mastermind, in this carriage with us as I speak, has no knowledge. With the help of Mademoiselle Marceau, my able assistant, you see Poirot, he is also able to improvise, huh? I shall put all 3 solutions before you, and I shall ask Mademoiselle Marceau and the eminent Dr. Constantine here to judge which solution is the right one. Mademoiselle, are you ready to proceed?
Oui, monsieur.
Eh bien, we commence. Monsieur Ratchet had received the threats from an unknown enemy. Mademoiselle Marceau? The tone of these letters suggests an enmity born in the American underworld, of which Monsieur Ratchet was once a part. A former colleague in one of his kidnapping schemes? Who knows? We have the evidence of a detective Monsieur Ratchet hired to protect him.
The detective is Cyrus Hardman, posing as a salesman of typewriter ribbons.
The evidence of Monsieur Hardman, who is indeed a detective hired to protect Monsieur Ratchet, gives to us a description of a small, dark man with a womanish voice. Except for the voice, this description would only fit 2 men on this train.
I need a moment to decide.
Time is of the essence, mademoiselle. Pray do not take too long.
Klaus, the chef.
Use the little...
Matteo, the...
Yet Monsieur Hardman's vigilance during the night shows that no one could have passed from the Athens-Paris coach to the Calais coach without his seeing them. So anyone in that coach must be exonerated. The enemy actually came aboard the train at Belgrade one of 2 ways.
helped aboard through the restaurant car door by Pierre Michel.
This enemy was disguised, leaving behind a button in Madame Hubbard's room when he used her connecting door. Mademoiselle, the disguise? A passkey was found in the pocket of this uniform, giving the murderer access to Ratchet's room. Ratchet was under the influence of a dose of his sleeping draught, light enough to wake him, but strong enough to prevent him from struggling as the killer left through the connecting door.
Masterman confirmed the dosage of the sleeping draught.
Oui, he did. Well, the murder weapon is obvious. Mademoiselle?
It is a stiletto, the type of knife carried by the criminal type in America called the mafiosi.
The killer planned to leave the train at the next station after committing his crime. Show to them the evidence supporting this, mademoiselle. Exact. The avalanche prevented him from reaching Broad. Even so, he went through with the crime and then hid himself.
The killer hid in the baggage car inside Ratchet's crate.
Please do not embarrass us both. Choose another.
The killer hid in an empty...
At first, in the Athens-Paris coach. Then later, it is in the hut. Mademoiselle found the uniform and the stiletto. But the killer had fled. He may have escaped down the mountain, or he may have come to his just reward somewhere out there in the snow. I think you will agree that we had followed the trail as easily as if we were tracking the footprints in the snow. Well, it is plausible. It certainly fits the most obvious set of facts. I applaud the mastermind who hides behind such an innocent face. The second solution asked more of the little Gressels, not only of Poirot, but those of Mademoiselle Marceau and Dr. Constantine as well. It was hidden most carefully. The unlikely accident of a means of communicating with the outside world, a part filled most ably by my dear friend Barnaby, made the truth, or at least part of it, easier to uncover. But I flatter myself that enough clues were found right here on this train that such communications were almost always but collaborations of conclusions that I had already reached. So, mademoiselle, we will begin again. First, I will speak to you of time. When did Monsieur Ratchet meet his end? I suspect Mademoiselle Marceau has the theory.
"1:15 a.m. The watch was broken during the attack, and Madame Hubbard heard the killer in her compartment only moments later.
Let us examine each possibility in turn. 10:40 p.m. or earlier? No. I think not. Mademoiselle Olsen spoke to Ratchet from the doorway at 10:40 p.m., but she never went inside. It conjures the image most bizarre of her throwing a knife at him 12 times from the doorway. And how does she retrieve it? Is there string attached to the handle? No. No, that is a solution of a most lurid sort. 12:37 a.m.? A more interesting possibility. Monsieur McQueen states that Ratchet spoke no languages other than English, and yet the voice answered Michel in French. Still, I think this was simply a performance for the benefit of Poirot. One of the little improvisations. I was meant to see through it and say, no. Monsieur Ratchet, he was already dead by 12:37. He could not have cried out.
The broken watch said 1:15.
Oui, it did. And it fits with the time of Madame Hubbard's visitor. Now I digress for the reminiscence. I observed to Mademoiselle Marceau that one meets many classes and nationalities when traveling aboard the Express. I asked her to imagine whether such an assembly would ever likely to be collected under any other conditions. And Mademoiselle, what was your reply?
In America.
C'est ça. Only in America will you find a household composed of so many nationalities. Look about you. As our investigation progressed, it became clear that 9 passengers on this train are connected in some way to the Armstrong kidnapping. Who have we connected to that case, mademoiselle?
Count Andrenyi.
Mademoiselle, I realize you have many clues to recall, but this one should be obvious.
Countess Andrenyi. Colonel Arbuthnot. Mary Debenham. Princess Dragomirov. Antonio Foscarelli. Caroline Hubbard.
Please do not embarrass us both. Choose another.
Hector McQueen. Edward Masterman. Greta Olson. Pierre Michel.
Can you really think?
Hildegard Schmidt. None of the above.
Précisément. These 4 alone, amongst the occupants of the Calais coach, would appear to have no direct connection with the Armstrong case. Yet I was struck by the curious coincidence that everyone in the Calais coach had an alibi. And these alibis are sometimes corroborated even by those not connected to the Armstrong affair. One of you stated to Mademoiselle Marceau that while Monsieur Ratchet got what he deserved, you would have preferred to see him properly hanged. The trial by jury is a sound system. Who said that, mademoiselle?
Princess Dragomirov.
Please do not embarrass.
Edward.
Use.
Count
Please do not.
Colonel
Just so. Colonel Arbuthnot. Now that struck a chord with Poirot. I sat back and thought, a jury is composed of 12 people. There are 12 passengers in the Calais coach, discounting myself and Mademoiselle Marceau. Ratchet, he was stabbed 12 times. And the reason the Calais coach was filled in the middle of the winter was explained. All, I repeat, all of the passengers were in on it. They had to be. No alibi could be left to the whim of a stranger. Did this solution explain everything? Let us see. What were the clues that pointed to the first solution, mademoiselle?
The uniform with a button missing.
Use the little grecelles, mademoiselle Marceau.
Cyrus.
Please do not
all of these.
Wait. And now, of course, my attention focused on Monsieur Hartmann. For he, the apparent outsider, had provided a key element in this artificial solution of an unknown enemy. How to explain his complicity? And then I remembered that Mademoiselle Marceau had told to me 2 suggestive moments during 2 different interviews with Monsieur Hartmann.
When he said the snow was bright.
Mais oui. The snow has not been very bright today. The sky, it is overcast. And in his apology, he mentions his fondness for French girls. Countess Andrenier told us that the nursemaid, she was French. Her name was Suzanne. Our young friend Barnaby Lewis confirms via the ham radio that her full name was Suzanne Ferrier, and that she was born near Paris. So, it is not so much a leap, I think, to wonder if perhaps the man from New York and the French girl working there might not have formed the attachment.
I've been a detective for almost 20 years, Monsieur Poirot, but I'm in admiration of you. Yeah, Suzanne and I were going to ask her uncle if we could get hitched. He was her guardian. Then the kidnapping and everything. It was too much for her.
Her uncle, monsieur? And his name?
Oh, jeez, I can't say I remember.
A detective for almost 20 years? And you never even knew the name of your fiancé's guardian?
No, probably got it written down somewhere back in New York.
Enough of this foolishness. I can guess his name right now, and so I expect can Mademoiselle Marceau.
Monsieur Ferrier.
The picture in your valise, it is that of you, your sister, and her daughter Suzanne?
Oui, monsieur. After my sister and her husband died in a car crash, I raised Suzanne as my own child.
And so, that leaves only one.
Me? If your tenant is one of your killers, Mr. Poirot, that makes you 12. You don't need me.
No, madame. I have come to the odd conclusion that the person who has taken no part in the crime is the one who would be considered most likely to do so. I refer to Countess Andrenier. Her husband swore on his honor she did not leave her room last night. A count from a noble family? A rising young star in the Hungarian diplomatic service? Such a man does not swear upon his honor lightly. No, it is much more probable that he tells the truth. And it is the devoted husband who, so to speak, takes his wife's place. So you see, madame, we are back to 11 without you.
Well, I never. Wait until my daughter hears about this.
Why not tell her now? She is sitting there right beside you, Madame Arden. You are the instigator, or the director, I should say, of this entire performance. You, who Mademoiselle Debenham so rightly called the strongest character among us. And there you have it. Does this second solution explain everything? Let us see. Mademoiselle Marceau, what was the real murder weapon?
That isn't what Monsieur Poirot is looking for.
But of course, a drama planned this carefully does not include the blood-stained stiletto with the fingerprints of some unknown. No, that is merely a prop, as were the 2 threatening letters. The burned note, of course, was a real threat. The conspirators most assuredly did not want this murder tied to the Armstrong kidnapping, and the true weapon with no incriminating mark upon it might never have been found if it had been thrown inches further.
Bloody steak knives aren't balanced properly for throwing. My hat's off to you, though, Miss Marceau. When I saw where it landed, I wasn't about to crawl out there and end up at the bottom of that ravine. Took some nerve doing what you did, and there's no denying it.
Hear, hear.
So, the improbable differences in the stab wounds is now explained. 2 so-called clues were dropped in the dead man's compartment. Mademoiselle? The pipe cleaner, incriminating Colonel Arbuthnot, who had one of the strongest alibis and whose connection to the Armstrong family was probably the hardest to prove. And the second clue found in the room, mademoiselle? The handkerchief, incriminating Princess Dragomirov, who by virtue of her frail physique and the alibi given by her maid and Michel was practically in an unassailable position. Then there was the clue found at the shepherd's hut with the incriminating fingerprints. Do you have it, mademoiselle?
No, that is...
with Matteo's incriminating fingerprints on it.
Not precisely cricket, you know, Tonio, to incriminate an innocent man.
Cyrus could swear Matteo had not entered the Calais coach. Michel informed us the radio was in the baggage car, and I went to put it out of commission. I did not want to destroy the equipment. It must have taken him much saving to purchase. So I only smashed the telegraph key. Signorina, you are a miracle worker for sure. To get the radio working again. I know about these things. That was a stroke of a genius.
Stick to the point, Monsieur Foscarelli.
With great pleasure. The padlock was just hanging there. I found the snowshoes earlier, and then the shepherd's hut. I was supposed to find a good place for the uniform and the stiletto, and the hut was perfect. But I had to break the lock to enter. All I did was go and get the padlock on the radio crate. I didn't mean to point the finger at Matteo.
The other red herring was not a herring at all, but it was certainly red. Mademoiselle?
And then to put it in my valise was not a nice trick.
The kimono is mine, monsieur. And mademoiselle, I had no intention of trying to incriminate you. I had to put it someplace, and I thought it would be amusing if you found it there.
Oh, oui, you enjoy your little games, Countess. Mademoiselle Freebody, indeed. Well, Madame Arden?
I always fancied myself in comedy parts. Bravo, Mr. Poirot. Well done.
Applause from an actress of your stature is praise indeed, madame.
We were all at the house, a house filled with almost unendurable pain and sadness. The Perkinson brothers were dead, but Cassetti had got clean away. We decided then and there that the sentence of death that Cassetti had escaped would be carried out. Little did we know how many years would pass, how many false leads Mr. Hardman would track down before Cassetti would be found.
Whatever country my work took me to, no matter how tough the case, I always saved plenty of time to try and pick up the trail. But he kept on the move. Brazil, Mexico, most of Europe. Ratchet was only the last of a string of aliases.
Then Mr. Michel wrote to me. It was he who, quite by accident, had recognized Cassetti traveling aboard the Istanbul to Calais train. When we learned the man, now calling himself Ratchet, frequently traveled to the Middle East aboard the train, we knew we could have some control of the scene of our planned execution. It took months, but in time Ratchet hired both Hector and Masterman.
One of us would have been enough.
Two were better.
Hector handled all of Ratchet's travel arrangements. With Michel's help, passage was booked on the same train he would be using to return from his latest excursion to the Orient. The rest you seem to know.
Oui, madame. Indeed, the rest Poirot knows.
But I don't understand. You've uncovered everything. We know we did it. How can there be another solution?
Simplicity itself. There is among you one who is not who he pretends to be. With the help of Mademoiselle Marceau, I will now present you with those clues which fit neither solution so far proposed, and present you with a truth that will surprise even you. I know some of you suspected something was not quite right, but let us now look at the clues that fit neither solution so far. Madame Schmidt says she saw the phantom attendant, but we know now it was sheer invention. Yet we have the testimony of an independent witness who says he saw the non-existent small dark attendant actually getting on the train. Mademoiselle?
The engineer.
Oui, the engineer while the train was in the Belgrade station. And then there is the crate of Monsieur Ratchet and its unknown occupant. What clues associate themselves with that crate, mademoiselle?
The pile of books.
Oui, the uniform I think worn by the person the engineer saw. The pile of books mademoiselle believes were useful in the planning of the crime, yet no one has mentioned them. And the fact that the person with access to that key would be in the best position to tell us something of the occupant of that crate. And lastly, there is the little matter of the kidnapping of Mademoiselle Marceau.
The what?
Monsieur Foscarelli.
I would not harm the signorina.
It is why we are all here, to punish the kidnapper.
She's right, Poirot. How can you think any of us would resort to kidnapping after all we've been through?
As you can see, Monsieur Parkinson, we have pieced together much of your story. Only the reasons remain, and I leave those to you.
What did you call him?
He called him Parkinson.
That is my name. Robert Perkinson.
Silence! At once! You will obey me in this and listen to what Monsieur Perkinson has to say. You owe to Poirot that, I think.
Please understand. I know how you must hate me. It was my dear wife Isabella, the unidentified woman the papers mentioned, who pleaded with Paul and me as the police closed in to let her take Daisy away. She was sick with grief.
Take Daisy away?
Cassetti killed the wrong little girl. He crept up while Teresa was alone outside and shot her in cold blood. He was gone again before we knew what had happened. We'd refused his orders to kill Daisy, you see, so he took matters into his own hands and killed my little girl by mistake. If any group of people could know exactly how my wife felt, you are here before me. And we were afraid. Some accident when the police came. It was unthinkable the little girl should come to harm after we had just buried our own daughter. Some time after I escaped, after Paul had died in the electric chair, and Isabella had identified some John Doe found floating in the harbor as me, I joined Isabella and Daisy in France, where they now lived as mother and daughter. I knew we should return the child, but my wife would have died the day she was gone. The child now answered to the name of our little girl, Teresa, and called my wife Mama. You understood the meaning of the photograph, Mr. Poirot?
Your family. You, your wife, and your little girl. And once I realized that, I knew that you could not be Pierre Michel. I then began to consider who you must be. Only one figure could not be accounted for with certainty. Robert Parkinson.
Last year, only days after my Isabella succumbed to a cancer that I think grew inside of her since the day of the kidnapping, I sought out Michel. He informed me of the plan to punish Cassetti, a plan that he, despite the death of his niece, never thought he could see through. He showed me the letters Mrs. Hubbard had written to him. He was in a terrible state.
He had seen Cassetti?
Yes, twice. On this very train. I could see he was not a strong man and would not be able to face Ratchet. I looked at those letters and asked him one question. Had Mrs. Hubbard or any of the others ever met him in person? His answer was no. I wanted Cassetti dead as much as any of you. He killed my child, and just as surely my wife. So here I am.
But, my granddaughter?
She has been staying with my wife's sister in Belgrade for the past few days. She came aboard the train there last night, dressed in an attendant's uniform. She changed into her regular clothes and has been camping out, as she calls it. The nuns at her school have kept up her studies, in English as well as French.
She is a good student indeed, to have brought all her school books with her on the campout.
I told her to study. She has been staying in the baggage car in Ratchet's crate. Last night I took some food from Klaus's kitchen when he had gone off for a moment.
And the statue worth $4,000?
I dumped it on a trash heap near Sirkeki Station, I'm afraid. This cargo is far more precious.
At last, the riddle it is solved, n'est-ce pas, mademoiselle? And with a most satisfactory solution indeed. Mademoiselle Marceau, while they enjoy this brief moment before you render your final decision, let us, you and I, see whether you are up to the challenge that Poirot presented to you when our investigation began. Let us check the progress report you have been keeping in your scrapbook. Mademoiselle Marceau, Poirot, he is impressed. You are courageous. You face the dangers without flinching. You solve almost every puzzle that confronts you, overcome almost every obstacle with enthusiasm and good humor. It has been my extreme pleasure to work with you and to match the wits with you. I am sure that with the knowledge you now have of my methods, you could do even better, should you ever find yourself faced with another mystery to solve. You are the representative of the train company, Mademoiselle Marceau. You have been instrumental in assembling the evidence that pointed to the solutions I have now shared. And you have been ill-used.
I am truly sorry, mademoiselle. I left you all of your belongings in that box, except the one I needed back, the key to the security room. You now know why. My precious cargo had to eat. You have proven to be most ingenious. Twice you almost discovered my secret passenger. I left the parasol for you to discover. I had no doubt you would free yourself. If not, I would have found an anonymous way to inform someone of your whereabouts.
I understand why you did it.
As Monsieur Perkinson so rightly observes, you have proven your grey cells to be almost equal to those of Hercule Poirot. So, what do you say, Mademoiselle Marceau? Which solution shall we present to the Yugoslavian police in Broad? Silence, s'il vous plaît. It is now time to hear what Mademoiselle Marceau has decided.
Here are my thoughts on the first solution. It is not the truth, but fits the facts, at least one set of facts, and it will be the simplest by far to explain. My opinion of the second solution is this. It is at least most of the truth, as much as 12 people in this car knew. They are self-confessed murderers, and yet, no, that word is wrong. Justice was done here. Of a kind, perhaps not the justice I would have preferred. In that, I agree with Colonel Arbuthnot, but still, can there be anyone, knowing Ratchet and knowing these people as well as I now do after only a few hours, who can't see the rightness of their cause? These are my feelings about the third solution. It is the whole truth. More heartache than even these 12 people knew. And it must stop somewhere, mustn't it? There are lives to build and rebuild here. I think of Greta's words on her postcard, and of the family that had one last day in the sun at Coney Island before the storm engulfed them. I think they all, including Monsieur Perkinson, deserve a chance in the sun again. Therefore, it is my belief, Monsieur Poirot, the first theory you put forward was the correct one. An unknown enemy of Monsieur Ratchet, whom the murdered man feared, sneaked aboard the train disguised as an attendant and is responsible for the murder. Unfortunately, he is still at large, or lies frozen in a snowbank somewhere awaiting the spring thaw. I suggest that is the solution we offer to the Yugoslavian police when we arrive in Broad.
Dr. Constantine?
Even if I did not owe you and Mademoiselle Marceau so much, I have learned to leave such matters to those best qualified to decide. I, of course, accept Mademoiselle Marceau's decision.
Why? Exactly.
Yeah, that's my view. What did I tell you?
Yes, thank you.
Monsieur Poirot, your ankle.
It feels much better. And Poirot? He has been cooped up in his room far too long. He has the need of some fresh air.
Mr. Michel, I'm sorry, Perkinson. I cannot find it in my heart to hate you. All I find there is forgiveness and thankfulness for giving us back something we thought we'd lost forever. In fact, it seems you are now one of the family.
Thank you.
Daisy, child, my dear, I am your grandmother.